Welcome back to Cafe Racer Garage, I'm Dan, and today we're going to put the CB750's front end back on. After having the bottom triple clamp powder coated and also rebuilding the forks because they were leaking, they found this on the inside of the forks. It was obviously a flat washer at some point, it's got a bit of a wear point in there. I'm really glad they found that and that's out of there now, so who knows what sort of damage that would have done if it stayed there. And after we've done that, we're going to take this thing for a bit of a shakedown ride, just to see how everything feels, how everything works. There's a few custom things on this bike that I want to see how they go. It's only going to be a short little ride, just as pretty much an up and back, just to sort of get a feel for it. And after that's done, we're going to work on the underpan, which is going to have a seat lock in it so that you can lock the seat down, but it's also going to tidy up the underside of this. And it's probably going to be done in 2 pieces. So stay tuned and let's get into it. That was incredible. For anyone who doesn't know, I've never actually ridden this bike. This is the first time, and I've never been more motivated than now to get this thing finished. If you are building a motorcycle, generally speaking, you have to build it twice. You have to build it first time to pretty much get everything done so you can take it out for short little shakedown rides just to see if there's any changes or modifications you need to make before you take it to paint and powder coat, because you don't want to have to pay for things twice. For the shakedown rides, the short little spurts that you do, make sure you try and tighten everything that you need to tighten. And I thought I'd gone over the bike like with every single nut and bolt that I had tightened up. But the last video that I did was the chain guard video, and I did some footage for it. I noticed the chain was just a little bit loose, and I tried to tighten it up. Well, I did tighten it up, and I must have got distracted and I didn't torque it up. So when we came back for a ride, I noticed the chain was loose again, which means obviously I didn't tighten it up enough. I'm kind of embarrassed to mention that. However, I've had a friend of mine who messaged me just the other day, Dave, who has recently purchased a Cafe Racer completely finished, and he put a set of Maconis on it himself and had it tuned. And when he picked it up from the shop, he rode it home, the thing stopped. I think he ended up pushing it 4 kilometers or something. A few people stopped to help him. The point is they forgot to plug in some electrics and the thing just stopped on him on the way home. So, and this is a professional shop. Doesn't matter who you are, what you do, we're all human, we make errors. That's why you take it out for short little shakedown rides and not big long rides when you first finish it. Just thought I'd mention it because, I want you guys to be safe, I want you to ride safe. That being said, let's get this underpan finished, let's get some more stuff done on the bike so that we can get it finally finished soon. thought it was a good time to just quickly explain to you why I've remade this piece just before I weld it out. Now, there's actually a couple of reasons. First one is, as you saw, I made this little guy here, and it was just to allow for it to pretty much sit flush here. And this is the tube that goes from one side to the other to allow the turn signal wire to come through, so it's tucked away. After I made that, and then I knew I had to fill in these two holes from the old seat latch that I was going to use, and I knew it was a joint piece because I originally only just used this and then I added to it, and it was just messy. It was just getting really messy, and I was in a hurry when I put this on, and I didn't pre-drill, and as you can see, the holes go on an angle like that. Exaggerated, but you can see it, and that was pretty much the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm like, right, you're coming out, I'm making a new one, which I did. So that's done now. And the other thing that I just recently did was I wasn't happy with the turn signal bracket. One was perfect, the other one wasn't quite, so I tried to tidy them up and get them to the exact perfect angle. It was only like 1.5 mm in it. It was nothing really, but it was enough for me to go, right, replace that. I replaced that after making a little template off the other one, so now they're perfect. I mean, it's probably nothing that anyone's really going to know except me, but if I can see it and the bike somewhere, it's just one of those things that I'm going to be focusing on, because I'm like, why didn't I just take that extra time and do it again rather than just leave it and then be frustrated with it? And as you can see, the new one is actually a little bit wider, which is perfect, because that means now I don't have to worry about using a spacer, which is just way neater as far as I'm concerned. Alrighty, so now you know, let's weld her up. Just about to do this off camera, and then I realized that this trick might be able to help you and save you a little bit of time, so I'll show you what I'm about to do here. This is the cable that I'm going to use. It's a bit shorter. This is the old cable. It's actually busted at this end, so I'm actually not going to use it, and it's got the spring in it, which I do need to use. So how do you get the spring off? Well, I guess you could just, you know, cut the end out and just chop that off with a pair of pliers, and then you can pull the spring off. But then how do you get the spring on here, which is where you need it, between my fingers there, which keeps this mechanism closed? So I guess I could chop this off here and put a new one on, and if you don't have the tools or equipment to do that, don't have the soldering equipment to get a new one of these on, then it's kind of simple, but if you don't know, you don't know. So I thought I'd just show you. It is a spring shaped like a screw, so you can just screw it off. Just start at one end and just keep winding it down. Just get a pair of pliers, just grab the end of it, almost need a macro camera for this, but you get the concept. So then you can just keep winding it until it comes off one end. Like I said, it's a simple little trick, but if you went to cut the end off not really thinking about it, you'd have a hell of a lot more work than just doing that. Done. So getting it back on the other cable should be fairly simple. And there you go. I've mentioned this in a few of my videos in the past, however, there's been a ton more subscribers come through since the last time I did it, and I thought it's a really cool tip just to quickly show you to save you some time. And what it is, if you're going to cut a bolt like this, the best way to do it is to make sure you can cut it as straight as you can. Best way to cut it straight is get a nut, tighten one nut up against the other nut like that, and then run your blade against the bottom of this nut here to make sure it cuts perfectly straight. And then that way, when you take that last nut off, or both nuts off, you'll find that you'll be able to put another one back on nice and easy. If you ever cut a thread and realize that you just can't get the nut on, you just drives you nuts trying to get, well, excuse the pun, but yeah, it does drive you nuts. But anyway, let's get into it. When I'm making the cardboard template like this, just to make things a little bit easier for myself, I just fold that little bit of tape back so that it doesn't stick back on itself, so you have to sit there for ages on each side wherever you put a bit of tape to peel it off, so you can just release it really easy. That way you can put it in and out as many times as you want. Well, as long as the masking tape holds up. While we're talking about templates, another thing that I do, if I do trim too much off one side, there's a bit of a gap there, I just get a bit of cardboard like this and just push it hard up against where the line is where I want it to be, and then just tape it down. And that way that's my new reference line. It doesn't have to go all the way from end to end, just as long as you know that's the line, you can just pretty much follow it. So that's going to slow things down a little bit. As you can see, I just broke the blade and I don't have any spares. I usually do keep spares, but for some reason on this machine I just didn't grab any. I didn't expect it to die this quick, and maybe it's because I'm using aluminium. Maybe the blade isn't designed for aluminium. I'm actually not too sure. It didn't snap at the joint, it just snapped somewhere random. So I will go and find out what blades are best for what materials and get the right one for the right thing. If this isn't the right one, I'm not too sure. But yeah, so let's go blade shopping. I think I might need to make a quick stop on the way there. It's running out of fuel today at 35-degree heat. I'm really not into that, so I'm going to try and hopefully make it to the servo before it does run out. I made it to the servo, so that's a bonus. So I just got back from the shop and I wanted to quickly explain to you, if you're buying a saw blade for anything, not even if it's a bandsaw blade, if it's whatever blade for whatever saw you've got, this is the easiest, simplest way I can sort of explain it to you. I got two sets. One is for harder material, one is for softer material. I guess the closer the teeth are, like this one here, the harder the material can be, generally speaking. Obviously saw blades are all different, and the further the teeth are, the softer the material can be. So plastic, wood, aluminium, I can do with this one, and I won't be using the wrong blade for the wrong thing anymore. I don't know what the blade that was actually on the machine when I purchased it, so now I will understand what blade it is. So yeah, that can be the stainless blade, and the other one will be the aluminium, which I'll put on now. Now I also grabbed myself a half decent set of files because I've never actually owned a decent set. This set looks pretty good, and it also, they gave me this to enter the competition to win this bad boy. So that'd be pretty cool. FTR 1200 Indian. With all my effort of trying to make this a precision fit in one piece, it doesn't look like whichever way I put it, it's going to work. It really just is not going to want to play the game. There's just too many things happening in here. The size variation changes here, so I just can't get it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in two pieces. As you can see, I've got two lines. One's going to be a cut, the other one's going to be a bend. Damn, almost got that in one. I think I did. That was a fluke. And that there is exactly why I bought myself a good set of files, but the files that I bought were just a little bit too big, so I'm just gonna have to deal with this little guy here for now. I'm really happy with how this has turned out. In fact, the only one thing left to do now is just drill a tiny little hole here for running the wire up for the rear brake. If I put it through there, or I may end up putting it through the frame, it just comes up from down there all the way up. So depending on if I decide to hide it in the frame or not, I'm not sure. But the one thing that I did do that I wasn't going to do was put these side pieces on. And there's one there and one on the other side here. And the reason for that is I'll show you. It really isn't a big deal, but there was a little bit of a gap through here and it just kind of didn't look right, didn't look finished. So I decided to put those little ends on, grind them flush. And once this is all powder coated black, it's going to be really smart and it matches the original pan that goes through. So it just flows nicely. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to watch more like this, I recommend these guys. This one here is actually how to attach things securely to your motorcycle if you don't have a welder or you don't know how to weld. So definitely go and check that one out and I'll see you in the next video.